You can run, but you can't hide. That is a lesson Republicans are learning this week. After facing fire from both the left and the right, Florida Senator Rick Scott has now amended his proposal to sunset all federal legislation every 5 years. Scott's plan now specifies exceptions for Social Security, Medicare, national security veterans benefits, and, quote, other essential services. Now, this new proposal also includes this bolded section, which reads, quote, note to President Biden, Senator Schumer, and Senator McConnell. As you know, this was never intended to apply to Social Security, Medicare, or the U.S. Navy. Well, the White House quickly hit back. Congratulations to the senator for, quote, joining the post-State of the Union red wave of Republicans acknowledging that they have, in fact, been attempting to put Medicare and Social Security on the chopping block. But Scott isn't the only Republican attempting to distance himself from his party's unpopular policies this week. So far, both candidates seeking the Republican presidential nomination have ignored a major issue on the campaign trail: abortion. During her presidential launch speech this week, Nikki Haley made no mention of the issue that was once central to conservative politics in America. In fact, here's my colleague, Craig Melvin, trying to pin down exactly where the former governor now stands.
Let's talk about abortion for a moment. A senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, has proposed a federal ban on abortion. Would you sign that?
We need consensus on this. Our goal
consensus on abortion. Would you support a federal ban?
I think not a full-out federal ban, because I don't think that's been put on the table. I think what Lindsey Graham has put on the table is 15 weeks. And I think if we're looking at 15 weeks, what we need to understand is we are not okay with abortion up until the time of birth. And so we should at least decide, when is it okay?
All right, so you'll notice Haley never really answers the question. But the truth is she's not alone. Donald Trump, who remains the GOP's frontrunner in most polls, has also thus far largely avoided discussing abortion at his campaign appearances. Now, it's no surprise that Republicans are ignoring the issue since their position is highly unpopular. As we all know now, it is part of the reason why the GOP had such an underwhelming and frankly embarrassing midterm performance. An NBC News national exit poll found abortion was the #2 issue for voters in November. And those who cited it as their top concern preferred Democrats over Republicans by a staggering 53 points. But here's the problem. You can't distance yourself from positions you currently hold. So the Republican Party can try to rewrite history as much as they want. They can talk in circles as much as they want. But their record on this is clear. Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury of New Mexico. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this evening. First, let me get your reaction to what we saw from Senator Rick Scott, his what about facism, if you will, his reversal. Did he really need a State of the Union call out to realize how unpopular promising to gut entitlements is with the American people?
Well, thanks for having me on tonight. I mean, listen, the GOP is in total disarray right now. They're pandering completely to the extremists in their party. And I think we can see the evidence everywhere that their agenda is so hugely unpopular with the American people. Millions and millions of Americans depend on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and just the idea that we would cut these basic benefits that our seniors across the country depend on as a lifeline every day is absolutely absurd. So, you know, whether it was a call out at the State of the Union or the continued work that we're doing in Congress on the Oversight Committee and every day to make sure that the American people know this is their extreme agenda, we have to hold them to account and make sure that they are not able to execute any of these ridiculous plans.
I'm old enough to remember Republicans running on curtailing abortion rights for decades. I think every single election in my lifetime. And after finally achieving their goal in reversing Roe, why do you think they are suddenly running away from the issue on the campaign trail, barely even mentioning or celebrating the fact that they were able to achieve it?
Well, they're running away from it because of the extremism and the unpopularity of it. The right to control our own bodies is a fundamental right. It's a human right, it's a constitutional right, and the upending of Roe versus Wade upended over 50 years of settled law. And as soon as they did it, the American people shouted that this is not what we want. In fact, the entire world did. And so now, of course, the extreme GOP is trying to distance themselves from the very policies that they've spent decades espousing and trying to put forward. But, you know, I'm lucky enough, I actually represent a state in New Mexico where abortion care remains safe and legal, where we are actually helping those states around us. And that is what the American people want. That is what they're asking us to do, is to protect our democracy, to protect our rights, and to protect our right to control our own bodies.
Let me ask you about some of your colleagues in the Republican Party. You sit on the House Oversight Committee. Your colleagues are Republican colleagues. They've put together a subcommittee to investigate the origins of the coronavirus. However, they're not alone. You got the House Energy and Commerce Committee also investigating that very same topic. Do you think, does this just double the risk of dangerous COVID-related conspiracy theories and misinformation reaching the American public at this time?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the shocking things that we're seeing right now with the GOP disarray is not only do they not have an agenda for governing, they're using the resources of our Congress to espouse conspiracy theories that are not only fraudulent, but dangerous for the American people. I mean, think about the beginning of the pandemic and the Trump administration getting in front of the camera every day, telling the American people all sorts of lies, conspiracy theories, and health risks that put Americans' lives on the line. The continued use of American resources, our congressional resources, to do that is not only dangerous, I believe it's fraudulent. You know, our job on the Oversight Committee is to oversee the waste, fraud, and abuse of government resources. And I think that what we're seeing right now is the use by the GOP of congressional resources to commit waste, fraud, and abuse to advance their political agenda.
And speaking of their political agenda and conspiracy theories, you saw firsthand in your own state of New Mexico how these fringe beliefs can, in fact, turn violent. In December, election conspiracy theories drove a defeated Republican candidate to hire gunmen to attack the homes of Democratic legislators. How fearful are you that Republicans will mainstream these kinds of ideas over the next 2 years? And do Democrats have a plan to counter that message?
Yeah, so listen, speech has consequences, and the continued use, especially of our media and government resources, to continue to put out hate speech, to use those resources to undermine our basic democratic values, is a continued threat to our democracy. And we saw that in New Mexico, a candidate who lost his race by a significant margin, hired gunmen to go and shoot up the houses of elected officials, and in particular on the election board that oversaw elections. It is dangerous. It continues to pose a danger to our local electoral systems, and that continued use of speech to undermine our democracy is a real threat to our institutions. Democrats have a clear agenda. We are going to use our time in Congress to make sure that we are shoring up and protecting our democracy, our democratic institutions, passing legislation that actually protects them, that we're putting into place, the ability to protect voting rights across the country, and of course, to continue to call out their lies, their conspiracy theories, and hold them accountable for the hate speech and the misinformation that they are continuing to put out there.
I was going to say, unfortunately, it does not look like it is trending in the right direction with the way Republicans continue to peddle these conspiracy theories. Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury of New Mexico, thank you so much for your time this evening. I greatly appreciate it.